Hello, my name is Abraham. I'm the owner and head of product development at Periva Energy Systems, author of Unfinished, Why You Abandon Meaningful Projects, and lead technical writer at BizDocs, where we work with business owners and entrepreneurs using the IPF methodology to ideate, plan, and seek funding for their business ideas. Okay, and today I'm going to be showing you, as part of my work at BizDocs, how to come up with and complete a business plan within 2 weeks or less. Now, to know how to do that, you have to know the content of a business plan. A business plan basically has 10 sections: the executive summary and then the core content of the work, right? So now we're going to run through the core content of the work before we talk about the executive summary. The first section is the business. This is basically an overview where you talk about the primary business activity, how it will be achieved, and basic evidence in support of the how, right? So the primary business activity talks about what exactly you're doing in the business. Are you offering a product, a service, what product, what service, where it's going to be located, stuff like that. And then how it will be achieved, you just basically talk about a bird's eye view of what the business activity is going to be. And then supporting evidence, you want to talk about why you want to run the business that way. So what are the incentives to running the business that way, and how is it going to be of advantage to you? All right, so under the same section 1, you're going to talk about the vision statement, mission statement, and then objectives of the business. That is 3 to 5 year goals, the growth goals, the expansion goals, financial goals of the business, etc. Okay. The next thing you want to talk about is the value proposition of the business. If it's a product, what's the value proposition of the product? If it's a service, what's the value you're offering to your clients when you're offering your service? And then you talk about the strategy you want to use to achieve these business activities and business goals. What are the strategies you want to put in place? Okay, and then lastly, you talk about the resources you're going to need to pull everything together, from office space, human capital, and everything like that. Okay, next you take the next section is the product. You take out an entire section to discuss the product. If it's a physical product, you want to talk about what it's made of, what it does, how the client is going to use it. Okay, if it's a service, you want to give a run through of the service from when the client steps into the building to when they leave, be it literally or figuratively if you're running a brick and mortar business or an online business. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is industry and market analysis to basically check the feasibility of the business based on what you want to achieve. Okay, so you talk about market size, market growth, you talk about demand, risk, and opportunities, right? So what are the associated risks and opportunities in terms of getting your product out there? What are the clients demanding for, right? What are the risks involved, and what are the opportunities that you can leverage based on this demand? Now you talk about maybe in terms of like policies, are they banning a certain type of product that will make your product more desirable, or is there a social trend that's going to make your product more desirable? You want to talk about that here. Okay, and then you move on to section 4, which is competition. You talk about the competitive intensity of the business. Is it a blue ocean sector, or is it a red ocean sector? Blue ocean sector means there's basically not any serious competition, whereas red ocean means it's an established business space. For example, you want to set up a school. There are 10,000 schools already everywhere, so what's making you different? Okay, and then you talk about potential entrants. How easy is it for the next person to enter? I mean, there is a common joke now that once you're done with NYC, the next thing is to set up a POS business. So you know, if you're setting up a POS business, it's definitely red ocean, and it's very easy to enter that business. You simply just have to wake up and think about the idea to get it done with. Okay, so with that, you now talk about ease of substitution. Still going back to the POS business, what is going to make me want to come to your business instead of going to the next guy? Because I'm simply swiping my card to get money out, right? So what are you offering? Okay, that's why you now talk about the differentiation strategy. You describe how you actually want to make your business more valuable to the customers, right? What are the differences you want to make your business more valuable to the customer? And then even when you've done this, right, there's still someone who will copy your differentiation strategy and implement it, and there's nothing you can do about it, unless this is where you tell us your competitive response. What are you actually going to do about it, right? So when someone copies you and you've been successful, but then now you're starting to see a decline in your sales or stuff like that, what are you going to do to bring yourself back on top? Okay. And then competition, risk, and opportunities. Yeah, when there's competition, you want to outline how it's going to affect you and the ways that you're going to leverage the opportunities that come with it, because in every chaos there is sense, right, if you're willing to look. So how are you going to leverage the opportunities that come to mitigate the risks of having competition and fast followers and copiers in the industry? Okay, then this now takes us to an entirely new section, which is the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay, so what are the strengths you know that you've developed for the idea, or that are innate to the idea, that you're going to use to leverage your weaknesses, right? And then what are the opportunities that exist, be it governmental policies, social trends, and what have you, that you're going to use to leverage the imminent threats to your business, right? So you want to use your strengths to leverage your weaknesses, and then opportunities around to leverage the threats around. Okay, basically. So you discuss this most likely in a tabular form. You just want to have strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Okay, then you move on to the next section, which is the operations plan. Now we're talking about how you actually want to run the business on a day-to-day basis, like when you've started the business, how you're going to run it. So you're going to talk about supplies and purchasing, as if you're talking about a physical product, or you're talking about arbitrage. Maybe you want to buy at a cheaper rate to sell at a higher rate, or you're actually doing production. How are you going to source your materials? Okay, and then production, you want to talk about the equipment you're going to need, right? So that's in case you're doing a physical product. And then you move on to research and development. How are you going to consistently improve your product to meet up to client demand, and how are you going to improve your workforce also to be able to meet up to demand, right? So training and development of your staff, and then actual research on your product to make it better. Then you're going to talk about storage and distribution. How are you going to store finished goods before it gets to the client or your customer, and how are you going to get your product in the hands of your customers? Okay, what are the channels you're going to use? Then customer service, how are you going to handle complaints? How are you going to handle suggestions? What's the channel of communication between you and your customers or clients? Okay, then quality control. Now, this is important because you want to ensure consistency of your product or your service. So you want to know the strategies you're going to put in place to ensure that quality is maintained, whether you're the one doing it or it's going to be done by delegated staff, right? So what are those measures in place, especially for services, because you know, in a service you most likely put in your personality into it. So how are you going to ensure that whoever is going to handle the job is going to do it as good or even better than you in terms of delivery? Okay, quality control, very important. And then regulatory compliance. If it's a food product, are you going to register with NAFDAC? How are you going to get that done? You know, financial services, talking about SEC or the central bank, what are the strategies you're going to put in place? Who do you need to register with, and how are you going to achieve it? You know, you outline that concisely. And then we move on to your marketing plan. Now the product, how are you going to make the product appeal to the customer? If it's a physical product, how are you going to design the packaging to appeal to the customer? If it's a service, how are you going to arrange the order of services such that it's actually inviting to the clients, right? The place, what channel are you using? Are you selling B2B or are you selling B2C? You know, that determines how you're going to package your language of communication to your clients. If you're talking to another business, you have to use a particular language. If you're talking to a direct client, customer, you use a particular language, right? So you talk about that. And the pricing now, are you pricing at par with what already exists in the market, or are you pricing below? So you have quick market entry, you know there are risks associated with that because your profit margin is probably going to be low. Or are you going top tier as a luxury product because you're offering superior product quality to whatever already exists in the market, right? And then promotion, because now when you have your product, you know who your target market is, and you already have a pricing strategy. The next thing is how you're going to actually get your product in front of those people. So what are your promotion strategies? Are you using social media? Most likely when you're talking about working with youths and young people, are you using social media? Are you using demonstration events and rallies? Are you using word of mouth? So there are different strategies that you can look into depending on who your target client is. And then you talk about management. This is section 8 now. What are the management roles you need in your business? What are the qualifications of the people you want to fill these roles? And then what's the general organizational structure of the business? So you have the chain of command. You want to detail all these out so that even when you're trying to employ people, you know where to put them and you know the characteristics in each person you're looking for, right? Now lastly, we're going to talk about the financial plan. You want to talk about the key assumptions. Okay, so now you're talking about financials, the numbers here. So what are some of the key assumptions? One, you're probably assuming that a worse government than what we're having right now doesn't come, so the dollar doesn't become 1,000 naira to the dollar, right? Okay, so you probably want to avoid that. So the key assumption is that things will probably get better, so you don't have to keep spending more along the way. Another one is, we're talking about trends. Maybe your business is based on the fact that maybe a certain line of products are being banned by the government. So an assumption is that that ban is going to stay for a number of years. So within a period, you would have been able to set up your business properly and stuff like that. So what are the governmental, social trends, financial market situations, and those assumptions which are the bedrock of the numbers you're going to give? So you want to lay those out so that in case things change, you can actually explain to others or to yourself why you have to adjust your financial strategies. Okay, and then next you move to cost estimation and projections based on the resources and the business goals which you have earlier stated under resources and the overview of the business, right? So your business goals and your resources needed are going to determine your cost estimation and projections, right? And then if you're an existing business, you want to create books based on past records and what's currently going on. If it's a business idea, then you want to create projections, right, of what you want the business to look like, right? So we talk about your income statement. There are 3 books basically. Income statement, which talks about your profit after tax, how much profit you make at the end of the fiscal year. Cash flow statement, how much liquidity you have at the end of the fiscal year. And then your balance sheet, which is the net worth of the business. Now we're talking about whether liquid cash and fixed assets, so the building, equipment and everything. So once you've done all this, then you now have a general scope of what the business is about. Then finally you go back to section 1, which is the executive summary, and you discuss these 9 areas which we've already talked about very briefly. 1 paragraph or 2 for each of the sections, just as an overview, so that when you take the business plan, either yourself or you're showing someone, you can quickly have a grasp of what the business is about, your goals and the financials of the business, which is basically the lifeblood. Okay, so thank you for staying up till this time. Once again, I'm Abraham Aldo, the lead technical writer at BizDocs. Now what we do at BizDocs is that instead of having you to spend 10 working days working on each section of the business plan on your own, stressing, doing the research, we take on this burden and we write the business plan for you, working with your specifications of what you want the business plan to be. Whether you're looking to just develop a business idea, to plan your existing business or business idea, or to seek funding. So we give you a premium business plan which is tailored to whatever your needs may be. So you can check us out on Instagram at bizdocshq. That's our Instagram handle. You can send us a DM to get in touch with us. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I'm Abraham Aldo from BizDocs. Cheers.